Is water quality improving in Bangladesh? In 2019, the Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey, or MICS, undertook a nationally representative survey of households in Bangladesh. As part of the survey, drinking water quality samples were taken from 12,000 water sources and households. This data helps us to understand who has access to safe drinking water and to track changes since the first survey of this type was done 6 years ago. In 2019, in Bangladesh, there was almost universal access to drinking water from an improved water source. Findings show that most people had access to water from an improved water source on premises with sufficient drinking water available when needed. 43% of the population, or 70 million people, had access to safely managed drinking water services, a water service that is improved, sufficient, on premises, and meets the Bangladesh standard for arsenic and is free of fecal contamination. Water quality is the biggest barrier to access to safely managed water. 89% of the population had access to water that was arsenic safe, with arsenic below the Bangladesh standard in drinking water. This is an improvement since the last mixed survey, although 17.5 million people still lack access to arsenic-safe water. Fecal contamination was more widespread. Only 60% of the population was using a source without fecal contamination at the point of collection. At the household, only 18% of people were drinking water without fecal contamination present. Since the last survey, which was conducted 6 years earlier, access to water, sanitation, and hygiene has improved. More people have access to water on premises, reducing the time spent to collect water. More people have access to basic hand washing facilities with soap and water. More people use a basic sanitation facility that is not shared with another household. But despite all this progress, the proportion of people with access to a water source without fecal contamination at the point of collection has not changed much, and the proportion of people with fecal contamination of drinking water in the household at the point of use appears much worse. So why isn't water quality improving? The reason that water quality does not seem to be improving is that many drinking water systems lack climate resilience. Changes in weather can improve water quality or make it worse. For example, rainfall can make water quality worse. Drinking water systems, which are vulnerable to these changes in weather, are not climate resilient. In 2019, sampling started in January, when it was drier and cooler, and continued to June, when it was warmer and wetter, and water quality worsened over this period. In the previous mixed survey, sampling started earlier, with most samples being completed by the end of March. However, in 2019, 2/3 of samples were in March or later, so the studies were not done under the same weather conditions. If we compare samples by month rather than overall, we see improvements in drinking water quality at the point of collection and no change in water quality at the point of use. MICS provides a useful snapshot of access to water, sanitation, and hygiene, and of water quality, but different types of data are needed to understand how to improve climate resilience.